Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander. That is Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we are looking at play-up props here for a 4-game slate on Thursday in the NBA, coming off that big old 14-game slate on Wednesday. We did decently well, 3-2 on the props, up money there on the night, obviously. We'd love to end the night with plus money there. Half a unit, we'll take it. You know, a little $50. We can do some stuff with some $50. Well, we're going to roll it over personally because it's in our bankroll. But we hope that you have something to do with it as well if you're following along. Continue by liking and subscribing, if you will. We'll be back to you guys each and every weekday this season. Also have our best bets video up for you right now on top of these play-up props we're bringing you. So also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out the great written content we're putting up on the site right now and use that odds finder tool we have up there. Make sure that you're shopping these props, getting the best odds and lines available to you across these books this NBA season. Nate, let's get into your first NBA play-up prop here for tonight.
It's funny you say we can do things with $50. Did you see last night somebody hit this Peyton Pritchard 3-part parlay in the blowout for 1,000 to 1 odds
I know
on $50?
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, his name is Eric Stone. Stoned betting. I shout him out because he keeps hitting stuff like that. He's a hilarious dude, like a college grad basically. But keep it up, Eric Stone. That's awesome.
Yeah, what a charmed life, my friend. But yeah, we are looking at a little more conservative of a same game parlay for the Sixers game. I talked about in the best bets getting some Raptors in there, but this is all just Sixers. It's just Maxey 25, Embiid 25, and 8 rebounds for 2-1 odds. And it's very clearly these two guys doing the bulk of the damage. Maxey has a 26% usage rate this year. Embiid leading the NBA once again with 37.5% usage rate. And the Raptors, despite all their size, are not really able to stop him. He averages 27.5, 9.5 the last 2 seasons against these Raps. And the boards go way up at home, 11.5 boards at home versus 9.5 overall. The Raptors are on a back-to-back here, so their shooting goes down naturally. Their opponents' rebounds go up. The Sixers are playing at a higher pace, so rebounds should, again, go up. And Maxey is the guy pushing that pace. He's too quick for these Raptors guards, has been in past seasons as well. I mean, you'd think maybe Dennis Schroeder is a better matchup for him, but in the first matchup this year, 34 points in 41 minutes on a game-high plus 10 rating there. It's basically just, keys to the offense without Harden. And last year, we saw that. I mean, he averaged 25 a game with a usage rate that went up 6% when Harden was out. And now he's just added things to his game. He's just an incredible offensive player. And it's just with the rest advantage the Sixers have here, having not played since Sunday while the Raptors are on a back-to-back, a fast guy like Maxey should be able to run all over the court.
He's so fast and he's so quick, and it's such a change of pace from James Harden. So I'm completely backing you there. I like the idea of points in this one. I mentioned that in the best bets video that I'm taking over 214.5. Just saw it go to 221. Still think the Raptors are going to have to get out and try to fast break and just keep that pace going for guys like Maxey and Embiid. Will eat like 25 points for Embiid in a game versus the Rap Show. I'm totally with. So let me move on to the first pick I got here, which is KD assists. And you can get that at plus money everywhere. If you can get a Bet365 account, it's plus 120. I also like the idea of pairing his assists with a Nurk rebound prop. I think it's a really good opportunity for Nurk to be able to move around guys. Like if Wemby happens to be on him, just move him around. If Zach Collins is on him, completely move him around. Probably did that every day at practice when they were both on the Trailblazers together, and he'll keep doing it here with Lil Bro on his hip, which is why he got 12 boards in the last game. The boards were the thing that almost screwed me on taking him for a double-double last game, but I think it's going to be more of the same. I don't know why it would change in this one with this exact same lineups in there. Like his ability to get rebounds, he had 7 in the first half. So I would say that Kevin Durant over 5.5 assists for plus money is a good bet as long as Booker doesn't play. The thing is Booker doesn't have props up. He's still questionable. I'd say my guess is it's 50-50 if he does or doesn't play right now, leaning towards like he might not even play if the books don't even have things up for him. They usually know something somewhat in advance. But either way, like if Book does play, you can still assume that KD might be good for 3 to 4 assists, right? So because I like Nurk rebounds and KD assists so much, I would throw a prop in there of like KD. If you want to guarantee yourself it, I say 3 assists with or without Book is like a really good bet for KD. 4 assists with Book is a little bit dicey. Without him, I think it's a great bet. So I'll just middle it. Take the 4 assists for KD. Add that to the Nurkic 8+ boards. You could even just take it at 9+ boards. However you want to get that juice. It's plus 115 for Nurk with 8 boards, plus 119 with Nurk. I'm sorry, plus 145 if you want to take Nurk for 9 boards. So all of that said, like I said, this is heavily predicated on Book not playing for KD's assists. If you want to just take the straight bet for him at over 5.5, which I still think is a good one. In the last 2 games, we haven't had Book. 7 assists for KD, most of the ball handling. Honestly, only really shooting when he needed to, and didn't really need to until things were getting crazy down the stretch in the last Spurs game. But we're not even going to really worry about trying to take them to win in this one. The Spurs do allow the 10th most assists per game so far this season. It was also a problem for them last season. Switching and as a young team is always going to be a little bit difficult, as you see Pop coaching them right with dramatically with his motions and showing them how to play defense in between timeouts, because this team's still trying to figure all that out. So they're a good bet for getting lost in rotations, and KD getting some assists as a result.
I think KD gets 5 assists even if Devin Booker plays. I think he still has so many ball handling responsibilities on this point guard-less team. The Spurs not disciplined defensively. It seems like Book, yeah, maybe he does sit out because they're on the road for a back-to-back this weekend at Philly, at Detroit. They need him for at least one of those games, probably at Philly. And Nurk for the rebounds, I think, he probably gets to 8 in the first half. Given the Spurs, I don't think the shot quality chart was very endearing for the Spurs last game. I think they kind of lucked their way into that second half comeback. The Suns should stamp it down, in this immediate rematch, and that should present more rebounding opportunities. Pick 2 for me is Bailo Paulo night. Paulo Banchero over 16.5 points is minus 104 at FanDuel, much better price than you get other places. And you can go up to 20 points if you'd like for plus 195. I put maybe a quarter unit on that if you want to really bank on the breakout game here. Because through 4, he's had a slow start, for sure. His usage rate is down 5%, while Franz Wagner's is up 5% this season. Franz has been great, but Paolo's free throw rate is up. His adjusted free throw rate is up, and that is where the Jazz have been vulnerable going back to last season. This season they're allowing the 6th most free throws, and they're dead last in opponents' 2-point shooting, despite, Walker Kessler being that great rim protector last year. Maybe people are figuring him out a little bit. Since the end of last season, the last 30 games, they're allowing the 3rd most points to power forwards. And Paolo averaged 20.5 or 22.5 against Utah last year. He averaged 20.5 against the entire Western Conference in 27 games. He averaged 20.5 on normal rest, which he's back on after that back-to-back at LA. And then Utah's on a back-to-back, which in that situation last year, they gave up more free throws and they allowed a higher field goal percentage. So I think Paolo should be able to get physical against Markkanen, whoever else, is at that 3-4 spot for Utah, and get his offense going finally.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about Paolo up to this point. It's second year. It's a thing. It really is a thing. A lot of times guys will struggle at the beginning of their second year. They'll come in and be slow at first. If you're good, like we all think Paolo is very, very good and a future all-star in this league, then he'll figure it out at some point in the season, and next year will be his Ja Morant 3rd year style leap where maybe he's going to win most improved player. But anyway, you get my point. I think that there's a moment in time that he's going to just surge above what he's been playing at. And if you want to get ahead of it in a good matchup in terms of Wendell Carter Jr. also, if you've got Kessler guarding Wendell Carter, you pull him out with a guy who can shoot threes. Wendell Carter Jr.'s 3-point prop is minus 200 for him to hit over half a three, right? For him to hit one. So I think there's an expectation that he's going to be pulling Kessler away from the basket. Only makes things easier for Paolo to work in that area that he likes on the extended elbow, etc. So OG Anunoby, I'm going back to a points, rebounds, and assist prop for a Toronto Raptor player. If you watch the best bets video, I took Jakob Poeltl over 18.5 PRA. I'm also taking OG Anunoby over 18.5 PRA in this one for minus 110. He does this against the 76ers for 3 key reasons that I've got here, basically. OG, I mean, look, he's averaging this against them over his last 5 games since he turned into the OG that we know and love today, which is roughly about 2 years ago. In his last 5 against this team, we're talking about 17 points per game, 4.5 boards, and nearly 3 assists, which, gets you well over the 19 PRA that he would need in this one. The 76ers, this is where they're vulnerable. I don't know if it has anything to do with PJ Tucker. He's more of a 4, but against specifically small forwards, which is exactly where you put OG Anunoby in this offense, is in that small forward, like a very traditional 3, as much as you can be, in terms of being super athletic and being able to shoot to a decent degree, getting better at that as well from deep. And the 76ers are super vulnerable there. They give up their bottom 10 in points allowed to small forwards. They allow the second most rebounds to small forwards and the third most assists per game to opposing small forwards. So like guys eat on the other team from this position for a very specific reason against this 76ers defense. It's also because they're not great at getting back in transition. And that's what OG will love to do, especially alongside new point forward Scotty Barnes or whatever you want to call him, is get out in transition off of rebounds that either of those two guys get and go. And that's where I think he'll continue to get points and assists and certainly the rebounds on both sides of the ball. So love the over 19 or more points, rebounds, and assists for OG tonight.
Yeah, no problem with it. I think the Raptors should carry some momentum from beating the Bucks last night and be just fine on a back-to-back. I was also looking at Dennis Schroeder. His prop is only like 6.5 assists, despite the fact he's been getting like 7 to 10 every single night in a very defined role as the only traditional point guard for this team. So yeah, OG also should have the ball in his hands, be getting those dimes, and the pace should be up, like we've been saying over and over with the Sixers in the post-Harden era.
Yep. I mean, we have to repeat ourselves when we talk about that game. There's only 4 games on the night, and the minutes will be there for OG as well. 38 per game in his last 5 against this team as well. So plenty of opportunity to eat for OG and squad. That is all the time that we have for you tonight. In this one anyway, continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page if you would. We'll be back each and every weekday this season with you guys. So until we see you next, happy betting.